Hey, long time no see. It is I, Krishana, here with your summer solstice reading. I'm not gonna make excuses for it. We're just here now. Okay, summer solstice. I'm gonna be doing all signs. If you want to timestamp this video, then you can. If I look down at my phone, it's so that I don't like miss a sign, because there's exactly 12. So, let's go ahead and get into it. This is the first day of summer officially. I am currently in Paris, France. Well, in the outskirts of Paris, France. That's where I live currently. And that's where I love to be, I guess. I don't know. There's no over explaining that. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it. So I don't have a particular order. I think I'm just gonna just go into it right now. So let's start with Sagittarius. I just feel like we should start with Sagittarius. Sagittarius. So Gemini season had you perhaps thinking that you had um, an uprising against you. Everyone's against you. It's uprising. Was that in your head? Was that for real? We don't really know, but we do know, however, that the air of Gemini wasn't quite helping your fire at all. It was, in fact, it was fanning the flames, of this feeling that there was an uprising against you, that there were people who were choosing to battle the centaur. And why would you do that? That's dumb, you know. But also, because there was this element of air, because there was this element of the Gemini season that was sort of causing a lot of confusion and a lot of chaos. Air spirals, and then you have like sort of like a twin element, with the Gemini. And so it's like a spinning like two tornadoes and you don't really know which way you're going. And so if you have chosen to pick battles with people during the Cancer season, you're probably going to analyze or reassess those people or those situations of which you've picked battles with. And you will find that some were legitimate, and you will probably also find that some of them were conjured up. And it was the fanning of the flames. So that's what you're going to be looking for within this next Cancer season. I guess we're just gonna like kind of go with the flow, right? Okay, so Cancer, the sun's coming out. You think that maybe it might be time to come out of your shell? That's a question. That's a question. Gemini season could also hit you hard as well. Uh, it could have been a time when you guys were going through a lot of emotional confusion, not really quite knowing where you stand in regards to people, maybe feeling even a little extra sensitive, maybe sometimes even feeling just straight attacked. I'm attacked right now. So maybe feeling straight attacked on some level, and it is kind of up to you guys during your season to actually make amends with the things that you can and cannot change. So there's going to be a whole season of serenity going on right now. There are some people that maybe you've kept in your life for a little too long. We just had another eclipse that just happened, and that eclipse was about sort of moving things away from us that don't necessarily serve us. So if you've had people that have caused you to sort of clam up, you've probably noticed that those people have sort of started to dissipate within your lives. And instead of holding on to them and trying to scurry for for finding reason or solutions to people that maybe you need to let go, maybe you need to really kind of analyze whether or not you should let them go finally. um Aries. Aries. Okay. Aries. So, what I heard in my head was two drums, two drums, two drums. Not necessarily beating on at the same rhythm, maybe not necessarily in sync. Okay, so that's very abstract. So what does that mean? Two drums. So what I'm sensing or what I'm feeling is that you guys have kind of been hitting the pavement. Um, some of you actually might have been sort of exploring in the spring fling type of situation. You guys might have been exploring like two-party situations, or two-party situations have been happening to you. And so kind of not really knowing which one to choose, but kind of like letting your fire just kind of run wild. Certainly possibly a certain amount of rendezvous with multiple people. I mean, hey, what you do is what you do, you know. But definitely sort of taking a lot of carefree nature, not really being as serious as perhaps other people would like you to be, not really following anybody else's rhythm but your own, and your own, these two drums that I hear in my head, these two drums I hear in my head, is like you're creating your own music, you're creating your own stance on things. A lot of this was, for you, the Gemini season was a spark of creativity, and so it was kind of like learning to find your rhythm in order, so when Cancer season came, you can actually kind of tap into what you do with that rhythm now. What you do with your own rhythm now. How do you move forward with this new path? How do you move forward now that there's a new thing about you, and this new thing about you is more individualistic than it had been before. So that's what we have for Aries. Let's see, where do we go next? Pisces. So Pisces is finding a lot more confidence in themselves. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, because Pisces has, for a very long time, needed to find their voice, needed to find their sort of equilibrium, and for whatever reason, Gemini season sort of did that for you in a very odd way. Um, Sort of unexpected, I would say, sort of unexpected that Gemini season would be the time of which you would actually find more of your equilibrium, more of your voice. I think it's because both Gemini and both Pisces not only include twos, so you have the two twins, and then you have the two fishes in the symbology of the Pisces, but you also have this sort of I say a lot. Just forgive me, whatever. The whole thing is I'm sensing this out. You also have this element where you guys can sort of both equally be disturbed because of your dual nature. You know, your dual nature can actually be quite disturbed. So I think that maybe having both the Gemini and the Pisces sort of in the same arena, the same elements, I feel like definitely helped you to sort of equilibrize. We're gonna go with it. You know what I'm talking about. To find a better equilibrium between your voice and the way you connect to the world. That's great. The thing is, and I kind of mentioned this again, is that Gemini season can also add a little bit of confusion because you guys are not an air sign. Um, that the Gemini season can add a little bit more confusion. I feel like you're going to be a lot more at home with Cancer season. And so just know that probably within the next 30 to 45 days, you're going to find some conversations perhaps that you had while finding your voice. In Gemini season, you're going to find some of those conversations be rehashed and maybe even reworked. Perhaps there was even sort of a misunderstanding element within that because you guys are trying to find your voice, and so you kind of swing from one side of the pendulum to the other. And so I feel like some things are going to be reworked and rehashed during Cancer season, where you're going to be just a little bit more comfortable in that water. Okay, so where are we now? Scorpio. Okay. Scorpio is having a bit of a interesting time right now. Scorpio has having a time right now where um, you don't know whether or not to trust your intuition. Your intuition is perhaps telling you that um, that you are not necessarily feeling where you are right now, and that it is definitely time to move. I feel like Scorpio can have a bit of a more of a groundedness, um, a groundedness in the sense of really feeling like if they just kind of continue the path that everything will sort of unfold and kind of work out anyway, instead of actually sort of moving when you probably should. And I feel like this might be the time that you, especially during Cancer season, again, another water sign, to really kind of, you're going to start diving really deep into your intuition. I feel like even you might even start having solutions to your issues in dreams. I feel like your psychic abilities are going to start awakening, and I feel like your intuition is going to become so strong that you aren't going to be able to you're not going to be able to just sit still anymore. You're going to have to make some really hardcore decisions, and those decisions can't be passive. Those decisions have to be very, very active. So I feel like that's what's going to be coming up for you in the next 30 to 45 days, or within the next within definitely Cancer season. Okay, so it's really hard to do these because you kind of like forget, like you're like, where am I? How many have we done? I think we've done maybe 5 so far. Capricorn. Okay. Capricorn. Rest and recuperation. It is time to rest and recuperate. It's time for you guys to actually tap into more of your earthly selves that obviously deal with water, Cancer season. We'll deal with water, deal with the beach type of water or fertile ground. So what does that mean? That means that you guys are going to now start really sort of planting new seeds and watching them grow throughout this next year. For you, it's for the next year. Um, I feel like you've had some ideas, you've even written some stuff down, but didn't really feel like time to move. And I feel like this last year, you guys have probably had to really really come to terms with some ideas that maybe you've held on for a really long time too, that have actually needed to pass away. You've needed to actually uh, um, accept some things that perhaps you hadn't accepted before, and sort of relinquish control of some things that maybe you had held on to for a really long time. And so now, because you've kind of gone through this whole transitionary state, now that you guys have kind of gone through the birth death and birth cycle, sorry, cycle or period, now it is actually time for you guys um to kind of still rest, but then actually start making some moves. So even if, like, for example, if you've been thinking about books and things like that, maybe it's time for you guys to just start writing a chapter here and there, once a day or once a week or something like that. Take a time to actually like write out some things that you have actually been holding on to, some ideas. I feel like you're going to enter a new enterprise. I feel like this new enterprise is probably going to happen for you um, by the end of summer, is what I'm sensing. So just kind of be aware of the doors that are going to be opening up for you. Okay. All right. So we are now at, I didn't do Leo yet. I'm a Leo. Okay, so let's do Leo. Let's do Leo. All right. Where are we at with Leo? I think it's much harder when it's like your sign, because like I didn't write any of this stuff down, so we're just going off the cuff right now. This is why I have a lot of ums and uhs right now. So what I'm hearing in my head is, how do you tame an elephant? Um, how do you tame an elephant? So basically, there have been situations that have been seemingly overpowering. Not really. It's not even taming a lion. It's not the strength. It's the mass. Okay, so it's not the strength of a lion. Obviously, elephants are also strong, but it's not the strength. Lions are more about strength. This isn't about taming the strength. So it's not about taming the lion, it's about taming the elephant. It's kind of like even the metaphor of the elephant in the room. So the thing that's uncomfortable, the things that seems overwhelming, the mass of the thing, how do we tame that? You know, and a lot of stuff for us have been kicked up during Gemini season too, because again, Gemini is air, an air sign. What is air going to do? It's going to fan the flames. And so if you've been dealing with other fire signs as well, if you've been dealing with other fire signs as well, you've probably found that the flames have been sort of like fanning all over the place and sometimes getting so big that you thought it was going to burn everything down. And it's like, so now we enter into Cancer season, and sort of the uncomfortable conversations, the sort of really kind of aggressive attitudes that we've taken on ourselves start to sort of mellow out. Our fire starts to sort of like mellow out, especially during Cancer season. And we start to really, really assess where we are, and we also gain a little bit more. We also gain a little bit more strength and clarity through the wisdom of learning how to actually deal with things that are of mass. um we also came into our own new enterprises and stuff like that more recently. At least I did. And so but I feel like that was a lot more Leos that I've talked to have also kind of dealt with the same thing. So let's just go with it. We also kind of come into our own sort of new enterprises and things like that as well, this kind of newness of life. And the mass of which we're dealing with is perhaps things that we actually haven't had to deal with before, or things that we would have run away from before. And now it's like we're in a whole new life. Well, how do you deal with these things? Maybe the mass of it, maybe the elephant we perceive is actually just a not necessarily an illusion. Maybe we perceive it to be bigger than it probably is, because we haven't necessarily mastered how to conquer those things yet. And so this is something that we're going to deal with during Cancer season, but in a much gentler way. In a much more gentler way, is like having to like, okay, we're gonna deal with this elephant now. We're gonna learn how to tame an elephant now. We're gonna get the tools and the skills. We might actually meet new people who have actually been on the path that we are on currently, who are going to be able to come in as mentors or as trainers to help us deal with that. Elephant trainers, wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so that's Leo. Let's go to Virgo. All right. Virgo has had a shift as well, but their shift is in sort of how they function and how they do things. They realize that the way they were doing things before was perfectly fine, but that was like 2012 them and not 2019 them. Okay, so they've been wearing the same trousers, since the 70s, and now you realize, oh shit, it's 2019. Now I need to like wear this. I need to wear new trousers. Who knew? Um, there's a certain element of realizing that growth is going to happen regardless to whether or not you will it to do so. Seasons are going to change regardless to whether or not you will it to do so. And so that can be a really, really, really uncomfortable truth. And so I feel like you're going to be mainly dealing with the emotional aspect. So you guys were dealing with sort of the kick up of the dust, and now you're going to be dealing with the more emotional aspect of change and growth and seasons. But this is also really necessary. This is really, really necessary, because I feel like as we come into your particular season, I feel like you're going to be a different version of Earth. Something I feel like happened or shift within, like, I don't know, the universe, the cosmos, I don't know what it is, but something feels like it's definitely shifted. And so sometimes earth signs can be pretty much the epitome of like dry desert. I'm not calling you guys a dry desert. I'm saying you could be. And much like the Capricorns, I feel you guys are going to enter a more fertile place, a more Earth is not just dry desert. Earth is also all the elements combined, you know. So Earth is also, you know, air, you know, and what air does to certain things. Earth is also the rivers, and Earth is also, you know, the sedimentary, you know, aspects, and da da da. Like Earth is all encompassing. It's not just this sort of rigid, dry desert thing. So I know that sometimes you guys have a tendency to be a lot more sterile in regards to how you deal with things, as far as whether or not things can be, not allowing things really to be contaminated. And what I'm saying is, this is going to be a season where you're going to learn that Earth is also dirty. So, just to let you know, all of the things that I'm saying right now, although they may not be the same reading, we're going to definitely tap on we're definitely going to talk about some of these topics in your actual like monthly reading, which I'm going to start doing those tomorrow. Okay, so did I just go through all of the signs? Hold on. So we did Leo, we did Aries, we did, I feel like there's another fire sign. Hold on. Pause, please. Okay, I just had to check. So we actually are missing two. We might actually be missing one, but if I redo one of the signs, then you guys just got some extra juice, right? Okay, so we have Aquarius. So you guys have been doing pretty okay. You guys are definitely on the list of people who need to really reevaluate exactly where you are and where you want to go. I feel like you guys have been flying free though in this like springtime. You guys have been feeling like a lot more like your air self has been a lot more flowy. You guys have been a lot more you guys have probably felt the springtime harder than anybody else, and in a good way, you know. And so you probably have your summer jams that you've already created, you know, on your Spotify playlist, and you guys are like flying free. And that's cool. It's fun. It's great. Don't have so much fun that you neglect the decisions that really need to be made because they might be uncomfortable. Ah. It's uncomfortable. I'm gonna avoid it. I'm gonna not deal with it. I'm having fun. What's the problem with having fun? You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But it's broke. But it's broke. So it needs to be fixed. And you can't just go out and party and have fun, and or not even party and have fun, but just you can't sit there and pretend like the thing that has you've needed to address in the last year is not still a thing. It's still a thing. You've just done all you can to avoid it. And I know that you guys might feel sort of exhausted because you guys aren't really some of you aren't necessarily grounding as you should be. And so some of you guys might be like, well, I can't address it. I'm exhausted. The reason why I haven't addressed it is because I'm exhausted. And I totally understand that, but you're also not going to recuperate by not resting, by just being busybodies. You're not going to recuperate that way either. So these are things that need to be addressed, by the end of the year. If you don't address them by the end of the year, they're probably going to end up getting worse. We'll talk about it later. Okay, Libra. So Libra, I don't know. I feel like I put you guys first. Now that we're doing this video, you know, it's like if you don't like write them down, you're just kind of like, I don't know where I am right now. So here we are, Libra. Let's give you some more juice if I didn't give you juice before. If I did, then, or if I didn't, then I'm sorry. So there's a question of stability. And what does that mean? To have something, does that necessarily mean that you're stable? So to have a home, does that mean that you're stable? To have a job, does it necessarily mean that you're stable? Does if you have a relationship, does that mean that you're stable? It doesn't. These things don't necessarily, just because you have a thing doesn't mean that that's stability. And I think you are well aware of that. I think you're also well aware of the fact that at any point in time, um, if it is not aligned with you, you're not going to be able to sustain it long term. So, my suggestion to you would be to really analyze those things that have recently made you uncomfortable and made you question, and make sure that you're not just running for the sake of running, but also make sure that you're not staying for the sake of staying, just to say that you have either. Because if you stay for the sake of just having, then you're going to end up in the next year, you're going to end up with end up having have made some decisions that perhaps if you would have taken more time to reflect, you would realize that maybe these weren't the wisest particularly for you. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can timestamp it. Thank you for being patient on my videos. I am now a lot more stable and in my own elements. So hopefully we'll see more of me. You guys have been awesome, and happy summer solstice. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.